This is Indy NXT by Firestone. With live coverage of today's qualifying, this is the IndyCar Radio Network.
A busy Friday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway rolls on here on the IndyCar Radio Network. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. My name is Nick Yeoman, joined by our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton, inside the Sid Collins broadcasting booth here on the IMS Radio Network, as it is time to go qualifying for Indy NXT by Firestone, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. About to head onto the racetrack and trim those cars out for a little bit of speed to set the running order, the starting order, I should say, for not only tomorrow's second race, but it's a doubleheader weekend. We've got two on tap for you. The first one coming up later this afternoon. Let's talk a little bit about the format. The field of 21 essentially split in half. Half the field will go out for a 12-minute session. The other half will follow. The fastest driver in either group will get the pole position for race number one later this afternoon, and all the drivers in their group will start on the inside rows. The fastest driver in the opposite group will start on the outside of the front row, and everyone in their group will start on the outside of the rows when we start the race. As for race number two, Davey, it comes down to the second fastest lap. So it might get a little confusing. We'll try to piece through it here. We're certainly most importantly going to focus on the starting grid for race number one, because that thing, my friend, is just around the corner here in a couple hours.
Yeah, and there's several ways of going about it, obviously, to do qualifying. And one of them is just what you said, is you use the first lap, your first fast lap, and your second quickest lap, and that is what they're going to do. Sometimes they do how you finish the second race. Sometimes it's fastest lap in the second race, or I'm sorry, the first race. But this is pretty unique. Splitting the cars in half, as you said, they'll get some speed. They got plenty of room. Although it's funny how you have this entire race course, but they all go out at the same time.
Of course.
You're all now. One thing with this one too, that there is some strategy to be had. If you could draft somebody, because you can use a draft in a couple of areas on this race course, and if you could draft, that does help your time, as long as they don't slow you up. Don't get too close. Don't get too far away to where it affects your handling, or you don't get in that draft. So we'll see what happens. But right now, showing Pearson the first one out in that 14 car. He's up to speed and trying to see what he can lay down.
And with some of these larger teams, you may be able to work that strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at HMD.
They got 10 of them.
They got 10 cars out there.
Yeah, and you may be able to work with some teammates on that as well. Obviously, Foster is in this first group, and I guess that's the one that we're going to really look at, being P2. Barely beat P2, was beat out slightly by Siegel in the first round. But we expect to see him up there. Hedge ran good. Chadwick's in this group. She ran really good as well. And Colette Pearson's the first one to cross that timeline, obviously just getting warmed up at this point. So times aren't where they need to be. And then we got Rowe actually, was fast in the first round. So pretty quick guys in this first group.
Yep, here is the group. Group number one: Louis Foster, Kyle Collette, Jamie Chadwick, Miles Rowe, Callum Hedge, Reese Gold, Josh Pearson, the rookie Jordan Missick making his Indy NXT by Firestone debut this weekend, Jack William Miller, and Nolan Aller. Those are the drivers that will be going out here in group number one, and we are watching Josh Pearson, really the first driver on a flyer, David, because he left pit lane navigating that very tricky switchback, that quick left-right before he heads down Holman Boulevard.
Yeah, that is a tricky area right there. Just went through it, used up quite a bit of curb. Clean and green, nobody in front of him, nobody really behind him. He can just focus on getting that perfect lap down. Foster right now seems to be the quickest. At a one, well, like I say, they're just getting up to speed right now, so it doesn't matter. This lap right here, Pearson the first one out, it crosses that timeline, or will cross it here momentarily, and see what kind of timing he laid down. Let me see here, he's coming to it. Looked like he had a little mishap, and he did. Have a little mishap. Timing, scoring's kind of jumping back and forth. He does find himself in P1 right
now. I'll just say it's going back and forth between race one and race two. I just noticed it too. So it's bouncing back and forth. But yeah, as far as race number one, Pearson is the first driver to go at the top at a minute 16.37. One of the younger drivers in the field. He is an Ed Carpenter Racing development driver, but still looking for really that breakthrough performance for Josh Pearson. We see Reese Gold also on the front straightaway as well in that bright yellow and black machine. Both of those drivers driving for HMD Motorsports, and that armada of cars that they bring each and every weekend to the Indy NXT by Firestone Series. Gold into turn number 1. Now uses that blue and white curbing through turns 2 and 3 from the left to the right. Lets that car kind of eat towards the curbing as he approaches Holman Boulevard. David, I saw a lot of drivers in the IndyCar Series getting wide. These drivers right now keeping them in between the lines. I'm sure once they get those tires, those Firestone tires up to temps, that's when we'll start to see them.
Yeah, and it should be about that third or fourth lap should be their really primary lap. Now, some of these drivers, they have 12 minutes. They can come in, they can put on a new set of tires if they didn't go out with them. And maybe get a little more speed. Just sometimes what we see in the IndyCar Series, they'll go make 2 runs out of each time they go out on the racetrack and come in and change tires. We'll keep an eye on that for you, but right now Pearson seems to be looking really good. A little surprised that Foster in that 8th place, Chadwick in 9th, but that's going to change quick. Matter of fact, Hedge shoots up to number 1. How about Gold? Finds himself P2 right now, and that is for race number 1.
Yeah, I think this format's fascinating, Davey, because you're right. Usually you would probably have a chance to come in and make some adjustments with 12 minutes, but considering you've now got to find 2 good laps to start to set your starting position for both races. Now all of a sudden, I tend to think that these drivers are probably going to stay on the racetrack for all 12 minutes.
I think what will surprise is you think, well, if he's fastest and you just take your second lap, those lineups are going to be pretty close to the same because you're fast. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you just get that 1 good lap in, but you don't get a second one in, and it's sometimes consistent that way, but other times it could be spread out quite a bit.
These are young drivers. They're asking them to not only go fast and find speed, but also find a little consistency to set a good starting spot for both of these races. We're watching Louis Foster. He's been one of the faster cars so far this weekend, had an incredible charge through the rear of the field to a top 5 finish at Barber Motorsports Park, and in practice earlier today, he ended up P2, just about 3/100ths of a second off of Nolan Siegel, who is very fast. Siegel and his championship counterpart, Jacob Abel, who enter this weekend deadlocked at the top of the standings. They will both be in group number 2. But we watched Louis Foster. He's got a rabbit to chase out in front of him with Miles Rowe, who's been pretty strong as well, Dave.
Yeah, and that is a good opportunity. He may have had a little bit of help down Holman Boulevard as we see him cross the timeline, close up to 3rd position of 1:15.5, and for the route race number 2. And where is he in? He's 4th for race number 1 at this point. But that long straightaway coming up right now, if they both stay on track, looks like they're going to come around that final corner, come around this long straightaway. He is close enough to take advantage of a little bit of that draft.
Yeah, I mean, how close do you think you need to be, Davey?
Well, if you can get, 5 cars is great, but if you can get 10 even, you're going to get some help, and that shouldn't affect your corners at all. You shouldn't be in any dirty air, be able to charge. Just want to make sure you don't catch them too quickly, where you have to lift somewhere or that it impedes your time.
Fastest man right now is the driver headed down Holman Boulevard in that black and silver car. It is one of our rookie drivers, car 17, Callum Hedge, who's at the top of the charts of race number 1. Louis Foster sits P1 in terms of race number 2. We'll watch Hedge navigate these S's where they really can swing these cars left and right. His fast lap here for race number 1 qualifying is 1:15.417. He's heading for the timing line as he'll clip that and try to improve that fast speed. This time for Callum Hedge, doesn't look like much improvement. In fact, his lap was nearly identical. It was another 1:15.4 lap, but it was a 4.2 compared to a 4.1. So consistent.
Pretty consistent,
which is exactly what you want to see out of a young driver.
Really consistent right there. Which, let me see, this is race 2, Hedge on top, Collette, Foster, Chadwick. When it switched back to race 1, did I see Chadwick maybe shoot up there?
I did,
yeah. Chadwick is quickest right now for race number 1.
So Jamie Chadwick jumps to P1 at 1:15.349, and boy, she needs a good weekend, Davey. She enters this weekend 21st in points. We only got 21 cars. She has not been the 21st fastest driver week in, week out. The results simply haven't been there, so she needs to jumpstart her season, and boy, so far, looks like she's doing it.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, no question. I mean, what an impressive lap. I think that's almost as fast. No, they got in the 1:14s, didn't they, earlier? Yeah, in the earlier practice.
Yeah, a couple guys did.
Yeah, a couple guys. So, but wow, good run for her right there with 4.5 minutes left, basically. And matter of fact, Chadwick, she had a good draft just now. Again, I think that's what may have helped her for the 1. She's in a good tow right now. We'll see if she could improve her second lap. Got into the turn 9 or 8. I'm sorry, just a little bit hard. Looks like she had to slow down, lost some ground. Doesn't look like this lap's going to be a very quick one. But yeah, well, it's impressive with her. It's Hedge. Hedge is quickest one, second quickest in the other. Chadwick still on top in race number 1.
Yeah, we'll see. Jamie got out of the throttle. That last lap was a minute 18.1, so she will try to gather it back up to try to find a little more speed as the clock is down to 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So we're clipping them right off, Davey, and everybody has stayed on the racetrack.
Everybody did. So obviously went out with sicker tires, just let it be what it is. Just go out and lay them down and try to be consistent, means both laps count. Nobody came in from new tires that we've seen whatsoever, so obviously, like I say, they must have. And right now, again, watching Jamie, it seems like she has a bit of help down that front straightaway. She needs to get this one good. She did make a mistake down at turn 10 and 11, or I'm sorry, 9 and 10 the lap before, so we'll see if she could improve, try to get on the pole of both races.
Yep, she saws on that steering wheel. The driver from England, multiple-time W Series champion, came over and ran as a rookie, learning all of these racetracks for the first time a year ago, and again has shown some really strong pace in qualifying and during the practice sessions here in 2024. That time a little aggressive into turn number 7. She uses the blue and white curbing in turn 8 and turn 9. How about through turn number 10? Uses the white line and lets that car swing wide. That's exactly what you want to do, Dave.
Yeah, it looked good, actually. She didn't make any mistakes at all through that. Moves her up one position into that. She actually got knocked down 2 positions. Call it and Foster now number 1. Hedge goes to number 1. Chadwick down to number 4. This is so quick. It changes so quick, so just bear with us, folks, because race timing and scoring changes between the qualifying for race 1 and race 2. She is currently 3rd in race 1. Colette Foster number 1, or 1st and 2nd. Hedge is in 4th, and then race 2, which is a change for us right now. Hedge, call it Foster, and Chadwick.
Yeah, I mean, similar names at the top, but the order is certainly different. Let's watch Caio Colette, the Brazilian rookie who, again, sits P1 at a minute 15.11 at the top of the charts with under 2 minutes to go. And boy, he really attacked that switchback of turns 5 and 6 to carry a lot of speed down the back straightaway as he is looking for not only a pole position, but maybe a good spot for race number 2. He sits 2nd right now in terms of race number 2 as he swings it through the S's. That car kind of looks like a Brazilian flag with the black. It's got some blue accents on the side view mirrors, green and gold on the top for car number 18. He's another one of these drivers from HMD Motorsports. Across the line, and the slap is good, Davey. It moves him up to P1 for race 2, and he's P1 for race number 1. So Caio Colette, the Brazilian, clearly the guy everyone's got to shoot for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, P1 in both of them so far. Foster P2 in both of them. I think Chadwick is 3rd in race number 2. Race number 1, I think she's in that 4th position right now. Pretty interesting to see. They're all close. Her 1st and 2nd laps are close to each other. Yeah, she is. It is the first, second, third the same in both races.
Boy, and look at this for Louis Foster, Davey. He's got Jack William Miller about a car length and a half ahead. Bryce Aaron just ahead. Again, we mentioned you can use the draft here, but also you don't want someone bottling you up at 4th.
Yeah, and this right now, unfortunately, I think has a situation where it caught up to Jack just a little too quick down there in turns 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if it's going to help him or not with that draft. Jack's got away from him a little bit, but I think he had to slow down too much.
Meanwhile, Caio Colette can see Louis Foster just ahead of him, and he'll follow him through the S's, although it looks like Foster might have got out of the throttle there, maybe to gather it back up for one more lap as the clock is under 15 seconds now here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Race 1, right now it's Colette, Foster, Chadwick, Hedge, and Gold, the top 5. For race 2, it's Colette, Foster, Chadwick, Hedge, and Miles Rowe. So the checkered flag is out. Everyone that got across the timing line will get the opportunity to complete their final lap, and I believe that includes some of our fast drivers, Davey, like Caio Colette, who is back on the front straightaway.
Yeah, what a great run by them. Matter of fact, yeah, I mean, checkered flag is last lap, and last time lap will be right now. Colette, Foster, Chadwick, both races. Hedge, you know, he's been flirting with that top. He could get another good lap in potentially right now. Keeping our eye on Colette. He's still out on track. Cameras on him. Looks smooth. Just trying to improve those times to secure, making sure he stays on the pole for both races.
Yep.
As of now, we got another group to come out that's going to challenge as well.
That's right, and right now it's looking like a minute 15.1 is going to be the time to shoot for in both races. That's how consistent Colette's laps were. Race 1 pole speed is a minute 15.11, and he ran a 1.4. And again, Davey, for Louis Foster, who's trying to find some speed, he's got a bright blue car right in front of him.
Yeah, what happened is he backed up off of Jack Miller the first the lap ago. to get some space there to try to get a good clean lap, but unfortunately caught him again. It's not going to improve his time whatsoever. Matter of fact, slowed him down quite a bit. So yeah, he backed up, but not far enough to take advantage of that draft off Miller, but it kind of hung him up there just a little bit.
All right, it appears that all 10 cars have crossed the timing line with the checkered flag out, and honestly, pretty consistent at the top in terms of the speeds. Kyle Collette has grabbed the top spot in both groups, or I should say for both races in group number 1. Minute 15.11 for race 1, a minute 15.14 for race number 2. Louis Foster goes second in this group for both races. Jamie Chadwick goes third in this group for both races, and Callum Hedge fourth. So again, looking for that consistency, Davey. Looks like those drivers at the top got what they had.
I mean, he was going as fast as he could. He tried to get a qualifying lap in too. He just wasn't faster than the guy behind. So you blame the guy behind, or you blame the, that's a tough call right there.
It's a big weekend for Jack. Tough that he's going to be starting there in row number 10. Of course, his father, Dr. Jack Miller, who ran in the Indianapolis 500 handful of times, and young Jack grew up here in Indianapolis, so I know he said he's going to have a lot of friends and family, a lot of supporters here, and that's a cool second-generation story, Davey. Good to have Jack in this season.
Yeah, it is. Obviously raced with his dad and Dr. Jack, and he's been grooming a long time from go-karts, and he came up through the ranks, and Vinatieri and Jack were able to put a team together and put little Jack in it, and just getting lap time, just trying to learn these cars. Yeah. They have some experienced people on that team, but it's never easy to put together a team, especially a single car team. So they have no data, they have no information from any of the other,
and no alliances.
No alliances whatsoever either. So trying to do it on their own. So not an easy task by any stretch, but they're in the car, they got it put together, and they're on track, and that means a lot.
All right, so group number 2 is out on the racetrack here for their 12 minutes, and already we see Niels Colin from HMD. He just missed turn 7. He's going to do a little landscaping. Cutting through the grass there. Now he'll bounce that car back out just at the exit of turn number 8. That orange, white, and black machine for the driver for the Netherlands. He'll have to gather it back up. It was an outlap anyway, so not at speed yet for Niels Colin. On the front straightaway, we see 2 of the heavy hitters heading down into turn number 1. The first one is Nolan Siegel, and then Bryce Aaron behind him, who's been pretty fast this weekend. And for Nolan Siegel, again, backed up what he's shown, Davey, the fastest in practice this morning. And that time that he's going to be shooting for is a minute 15.1 in both races here in qualifying.
Yeah, so the advantage of going out first, clean track ahead of you. The disadvantage of going out is clean track ahead of you. You have nobody to tow off of. So right now, Siegel, is on his own. There's no help, but Aaron behind him has that opportunity. Maybe get a little bit of a tow, a little bit of draft off Siegel. So we'll see what happens there, but it definitely makes a difference. These long straightaways, you can take advantage and gain time by getting that slipstream.
David, do the drivers here in the second group going out second have an advantage compared to the guys ahead of them?
Well, I always think so, because they know what to shoot for. I think that's a big thing too. Is like, okay, what do we need? What did they run? What kind of lap times are they running? So kind of gives the second group of drivers an idea of what kind of lap time they need to lay down, where they need to be, comparing it to what they were last time they were on track. And then they just continue to say, okay, well, that wasn't enough. I got to push a little harder. And they can do it right from the start rather than trying to work up to it and getting that perfect lap. And I think, like I say, Siegel's disadvantage, like I said, it's both being up front and clean air, but then we'll see if Aaron can, behind him, gain some ground.
Yeah, Bryce Aaron giving chase. The driver from Andretti Global had a tough start to the season. Had a crash in turn 11 at St. Pete out of the corner there, smacked the wall, had to be relegated to a 19th place finish, but kind of bounced back with a good top 10 and 8th place run at Barber Motorsports Park, and that allows him to enter this weekend 60 points back in the championship in 13th position. But certainly Andretti Global brings some really good race cars to the track, and we will see what that driver can do in that red, white, and black car for Andretti Global. He'll use the blue and white curbing in turns number 8 and 9 as they swing back the left and the right. We call it the S's, and they swing out in front of the turn 2 suites, the oval turn 2 suites. That's one of the best seats in the house when we go racing the Indianapolis 500. Aaron back onto the oval and across the timing line, and he'll put down a lap of a minute 18.45. No, check that. That was for race number 2. It's a minute 15.8 for race number 1. So, again, probably, the times really don't matter here, Davey, until we get about 3, 4, 5 laps in, because they're certainly getting these cars up.
Yeah, and Siegel right there going into turn 11 smoked the brake just a little bit, got a little tire smoke. I'm sorry, that would be in turn 12, and that didn't help his time. Abel, like I say, 1:15.6, so about 3/10 off, or matter of fact, about a half second off where he needs to be to try to set on the pole of this event. So, a little surprise for Siegel right there. Aaron, I'm a little surprised because he did have that opportunity to tow off a Siegel, and but right now, confidence is there. The winner of the last race, it's pole sitter Abel, he's after it right now.
David, do you feel like now that Jacob Abel got that first win that the floodgates could open for that young man?
I think so. I think, he has the confidence that he knows he could do it. He got it done in great fashion there. I mean, dominance. And that team is getting better and better. I think they're all getting confidence in each other. And as his dad said earlier on with the interview, is like, hey, we are getting better. We're celebrating this. But Jacobs worked really hard in the offseason to make sure that he could be a winner.
And he just laid down a pretty nice lap at a minute 14.9.
Wow, there you go.
That jumps him to P1 for race number 1. But again, the times to shoot for, no, actually, that's fast enough. So
that's fast enough, yeah.
It's been determined. The pole sitter for at least race number 1 is coming from this group with that big lap for Jacob Abel. You mentioned it. We saw a couple drivers get sub-minute 15 in practice, and boy, it did not take Jacob Abel very long.
Yeah, it did not at all. What a lap. That's fast. He's been all weekend. We've seen him all flirting around. He was in the 115s, I think in 3s potentially. Matter of fact, we have it right here. It's a different sheet, but he didn't have that kind of speed. A good run for Jacob. We're talking about it. It's time to lay it down. He's ready, prepared for it, and just did it. So lap 1 finds in race 1, he's definitely going to be on the pole, unless somebody in this group could beat him. But this race number 2, he's actually still, he'd be starting second in race number 2 as of right now.
Yep, in fact, he is completing his 4th lap here in qualifying, and now we see Bryce Aaron cutting some grass in turns 8 and 9 as he gets back onto the racetrack, so he'll throw away a lap. We saw Niels Colin and Lindsey Brewer very close down in turn number 1. So things are turning over, Davey, and we're starting to see some fast laps come in. Abel the quickest for race number 1. Nolan Siegel second at a minute 5.16. In terms of race number 2,
Siegel, I think,
see those second laps come in. Jacob
Abel just did it again. 1:15.5, so he's matching that time.
So poor Kyle Collette just lost both pole positions here in the span of about 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. So he's going to start on the front row for both races, but now, Davey, we'll find out who's going to be the pole sitter.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wow, that's pretty impressive what he's been able to do. Like I said, didn't really show that earlier today in the practices. They kept a little bit in the tank, as they say, and man, he is absolutely putting the pressure on himself to be perfect, and he's doing that by, if nobody can beat him, he's on the pole at both races.
Black and white car for Jacob Abel, the winner at Barber Motorsports Park, as he kind of lets that car swing over to driver's right to get a nice angle into turn number 7. As you watch that car enter that corner, Davey, you like what you're seeing?
Yeah, really good. No tire smoke. It looks like he drove it in there really deep. Good grip. He's taking a proper line. Little bit of a wiggle there, off of turn 8, going down through 9. We'll see. Timeline's coming up right there, 10. And it doesn't improve. He's still on the pole at both of them at this point, but I don't know if it improved it. It did not improve the time his last time by.
No, it was a minute 15.16. That second quickest lap's at a minute 15 flat. So, again, we're talking about tenths and hundredths.
Yeah, no, still a great lap. Just not enough to improve on what he already has. But as long as everybody else goes faster in this group, he's looking really good. And Siegel, he's going to put pressure on him. He's close, but just not enough to find himself on the pole. As Rowe goes to second in race number 1. Siegel now the 3rd, Brown in 4th, and D'Orlando in 5th at this point.
And I'll tell you what, Davey, the first 2 races, the pole position has been where you want to be. At St. Pete, Nolan Siegel won from pole, and then we go to Barber Motorsports Park, and Jacob Abel wins from pole. But I have a sneaky feeling this is the kind of racetrack, especially with the long straightaways that you can draft. I don't think the pole sitter either race is just going to check out.
Yeah, sometimes the pole sitter here, I tell you just never know, because it can go 5 wide down. Then you can get a draft on you, and by the time you get down there, they can be 5 wide.
You could be running
maybe at 5th. That's right. So the pole here isn't quite as easy and as important as it was at St. Petersburg or at Barber, especially Barber, just a short straightaway. Nobody really get a chance to. It's really a huge advantage to be on the pole there. But this is a different game. And like I say, just because you're on the pole doesn't mean it's the best best place to be.
Yeah, I think we're getting ready. It's this will be the 22nd.
We got one going off there. That was car, the 29.
Oh, James Rowe.
James Rowe had P2 right now in race 1. Just went in to turn 12, just a little bit hot, smoked the brakes, went in the runoff area, and came right back on track.
I was going to say, Davey, this is the 22nd and 23rd Indy NXT race that we have had here on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. So
wow,
we've seen a lot of them, and I think over the years, I believe we've had a couple starts or restarts called off because the leader wants to do exactly what you're talking about. They want to check out on it.
Check out, try to get advantage of that toe. Another thing that we'll see is that Polster, he may take off and then just shoot right to the bottom of the track, get right next to that inside wall, try to keep anybody from drafting or getting underneath of him. So it's a long straightaway, and they throw that start-finish line, or where the green comes out, is pretty far up it. Yeah. So there's a lot of green and straight racetrack to fight for down into turn 1.
All right, so here's where we stand with just a little over 3 minutes left in Group 2 of qualifying for both of the Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix. Jacob Abel right now sitting on the pole position. Fastest lap at 1:14.935. This is for race number 1. James Rowe would be second. It would be in row 2, I would say, inside of row number 2. Nolan Siegel would be on the inside of row 3. Jonathan Brown on the inside of row 4. Michael D'Orlando on the inside of row number 5. In terms of race number 2, as the timing and scoring turns over, Jacob Abel, again, great run. He'd be starting on the pole for that race as well. The quick lap is 1:15.05. And guys are close. James Rowe is there about 1/10 of a second behind, less than 1/10 of a second. And then in terms of race 1, Davey, you got the top 15, or I guess it's the top 7 or 8 drivers, all within a second here in Indianapolis.
And one thing we counted on thinking Aaron was going to be a little bit farther up on the speed chart. Right now, P6 in race number 2. Race number 1, he is also P6, but right now he's drafting, and he has, it looks like, a pretty good position. He gets some free air and free time off of our Polster Abel right now. We're going to go through turn 7 right now. We'll see how 8, 9, and 10 as Abel gets a little bit sideways. But we'll see when they cross that timeline to see if him being able to draft helps him out at all, and that's Aaron we're talking about.
Boy, the driver, they wrestle those cars to the S's, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
They use up every inch of curb.
They use it all up, and that's what makes it fun. This race course with 1:42 left, not easy at all, and Aaron did not move up in race number 2.
Abel did not. 1:15.3.
So that draft did not help him. I think Abel was able to kick, he lost some ground to him in the straightaways, but when it came to those S's, you've seen Abel was fighting that thing, but you're sliding around down there getting most out of it as you can, and it didn't take advantage of it for Aaron.
Just about a minute left in qualifying here for the Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix of Indianapolis. This is the IndyCar Radio Network. Appreciate you joining us, whether it be with the live streaming video online or listening to us on multiple platforms. Maybe you're listening to us at the racetrack as well. If you brought a scanner, we always appreciate you making that effort. As IndyCar qualifying coming up a little bit later at 4:20 Eastern Time. And then, of course, we're going to go racing Indy NXT race number 1 at 6:05 Eastern Time. So it's been a setup, practice, qualify, and race for these drivers in Indy NXT by Firestone. Watching Michael D'Orlando in that blue and black machine for the partnership Andretti Cape Motorsports team as D'Orlando heads down towards turn number 7. He's trying to protect a 5th row starting position for race number 1, trying to improve for either race as we are under 30 seconds. He's another one, attacks those curbing, watching those Firestones kind of bounce over that blue and white curbing, and then hangs it all the way out to the outside of the racetrack to the exit of turn number 9. Lets it eat just up off the corner under the oval before it's another quick right-handed corner of turn number 12, and then the rhythm section of 13, 14, and 15 heading back out of the front straightaway. Not seeing a lot of change, Davey, here in the last 2 or 3 minutes in timing and scoring, and the checkered flag is out. So everybody's going to get one more opportunity to turn a lap.
Well, I think the situation is these tires, your primary laps are really, I think, laps 3, 4 are their best ones. I think if you're lucky, you can get them up to turn the second lap, but more than likely it's going to be lap 3, 4, sometimes lap 5. After that, they start dropping off just slightly in grip levels. Now, if you made a mistake on those, that doesn't mean you can't set your fastest lap, but I think for the tires themselves, you want to do it in that 3rd, 4th, 5th lap.
So if it's not going to be Jacob Abel, maybe it'll be James Rowe. He's got a final couple corners to try to run down and knock Jacob Abel off of either one of the poles. I guess if he turns a quick lap, it's probably going to be for race number 1 as he heads through the S's, gets on the accelerator. Not sure, and he's carrying a ton of speed.
Slowed down, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's out of the throttle and will head towards the timing line, chasing after Bryce Aaron. And, yeah, he will not improve. So as the last couple cars, including Jonathan Brown, Michael D'Orlando, Salvador De Alba, they are all heading for the timing line. It just doesn't look like anyone has had anything for Jacob Abel. And, indeed, all 11 cars in this group have crossed the timing line with the checkered flag out. And it looks like Jacob Abel not only picked up his second pole position of the season, Davey, it looks like he swept them in both.
His second and third pole position in his career, so great job by him. How about Rowe sneaking in on second in both races? And Seagulls, those have been surprised. We, kind of not banked on, but thought that he had a really good shot at getting a pole in one or two of these. So we'll go down to the pit lane right now with Alex.
Of the crew, and well, Jacob, when you're hot, another pole position. Take us through that run.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, it's a really, really tricky day just with everything, how it goes. It's very, very hectic. We got immediately to work right after that session, and yeah, we just worked super hard. We didn't stop, in between these two sessions, and the car was just fantastic, and I was, able to get up to speed quickly, and it was awesome. So yeah, this was definitely pretty gratifying.
Well, quick and fall testing at Barber, pole position, win the race. Your quickest here in the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test last fall, pole position. Big Mo's on your side. How are you going to keep the momentum going and get another race win here later?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, it's a lot harder to win from pole at this track than it is at Barber. So definitely going to have to work for it a little bit more, but I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to enjoy this one for about 2 hours, and then we're going to be back on track. So yeah, super pumped for it, though.
Congratulations. We'll see you later today.
Thank you.
That's Jacob Abel. Over to Ryan Marine.
Well, the man who comes into this weekend tied with Jacob Abel in points is Nolan Siegel. And the car's been quick going back to practice. You end up on the third row, it looks like, for race number 1. I'm not sure exactly where you're going to be for race number 2. What do you make of where you're going to line up for the race here later on today?
Yeah, I think I'm starting 5th for both races. So, it's not the worst place that you could be, but definitely not ideal. I think in practice we were a bit confused. We rolled off way far off the pace, made a lot of progress, but I think we're still trying to find some. So we'll see. I mean, it was super consistent, which I think is looking good for the race, and this is a place where we can race and we can pass. So not the worst place to have a bad qualifying, but definitely would have liked to have, that big peak lap that everyone else seemed to have. So confident for the race, but a little bit disappointed in qualifying.
A single lap pace, like you said, is one thing, but going and racing is something totally different. How far up can you drag the car here later on this afternoon?
I'm hoping another 4 spots.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we'll see you later on. That is Nolan Siegel, who starts 5th, it sounds like, for both races here this weekend at the IMS Road Course.
That is correct. Good job by Alex Wolf and Ryan Marine catching up with our 2 championship leaders. I won't give the order for both races, but I can tell you that the top 9 spots for both race 1 and race 2 are identical. So I'll give you the top 9 starters for both races. It'll be Jacob Abel and Kyle Collette on the front row. James Rowe will start 3rd with Louis Foster, his Andretti Global teammate, to the outside for both races. In row 3, Nolan Siegel will share that row with J.B. Chadwick. In row 4, it'll be Jonathan Brown and Callum Hedge. Michael D'Orlando will start to the inside of row number 5. He'll have Miles Rowe to his outside tomorrow. Reese Gold to his outside later today. And if you want to catch the Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix of Indianapolis race number 1, you can do it on all of these same outlets right here on the IndyCar Radio Network at 6:05 Eastern Time. Before that, though, we have to decide how they're going to start for the Soncio Grand Prix. That's coming up at 4:20 Eastern Time for the NTT IndyCar Series. Mark James, Davey Hamilton, the entire crew will guide you through that 3-round knockout qualifying that has always been so exciting over the years. Great job by Ryan Marine and Alex Wolf on pit lane. For Davey Hamilton, I'm Nick Yeoman. Congratulations, Jacob Abel scores his 2nd and 3rd pole of the season. The co-points leader will lead him to the green flag when we go racing later this afternoon and again tomorrow for Indy NXT by Firestone.